What's up, my nerds? It's been forever, but welcome to Season 4, Episode 1 of the Nerd Alert Podcast. I missed you guys. I really have. Today, we're going to discuss X-Men 97. It's a full review. We'll also go over a review on The Crow 30th Anniversary, which dropped in theaters last week. Had a chance to watch The Fall Guy, which is on digital format now. Unfortunately, we'll get into that at that point. And then go over the news, right? Thanks for sticking with me. Hope you enjoy the show. Let's get to it. What is up, my nerds? It's been a minute. It's taken some time to kind of recoup through the past few weeks of just great television. And then also the couple weeks after that with none of that television. So the withdrawals have been there. And of course, I'm referring to X-Men 97. One of the best things that has hit television and one of the best properties to come out of the MCU in a while. Specifically since Endgame. Probably the best thing. Making up for the lackluster Phase 4 is this show, which was very underrated when it was announced. Very skeptical as far as what we were going to receive, and it blew all perceptions, all thoughts out of the water. It currently sits at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Everybody and your mom knows about it. We've got the kick-ass theme song played at clubs now, like legit. They're playing this shit at clubs. The revised version by the New Brothers, by the way, phenomenal. Sticks to the classic, but also updates it and doesn't miss a step. It's so fucking good. But yes, this show is incredible. It's been a roller coaster of emotions, great action sequences, so much character development in just one season. And they elevated this show in such a way that your mind is just blown. You have to watch it. You just do. You have to. And if you haven't already, watch it. And before I go any further, spoilers. There are tons of spoilers on here if you've missed it. Because I'm not holding back. I have been everywhere with the show. From the very first episode, we go a year later after Xavier's death, right? Or at least that's the way the world perceives it. To us, we know that he left with the Shi'ar, but the X-Men have been told that, been telling everybody he's dead. So Cyclops has been running it up until Magneto shows up, and then Magneto's running it. And yeah, it's really cool to see where they're at. From the very beginning, we're introduced to these actions and these fight scenarios that are choreographed on a whole different level. Cyclops is owning every scene he possibly can throughout the show. That first sequence where he's kind of gliding around with his optic blast, to falling out of the fucking jet, to later on full cost optic blast, like in the freaking Marvel vs. Capcom games. Intense. To Wolverine. Wolverine's actually not as on the forefront as he used to, which is good. I feel like he needed to be pulled back so everybody else could be given some light. And because of that, when he does show up, he shines. He has a badass cut loose fight in the fucking air against some Sentinels. Hella dope. Our story takes us from the mansion to Genosha to Mojo World. The Mojo World sequence with Jubilee it's a lot of fun. It's a shame it only got 15 minutes. Should I have been given a half hour like the other episodes? It was just too much fun to be cut short. But yet still fulfilling. It was a weird line that we were crossing there. Which also showed her development. She was one of the biggest staples of the first show. She was our eyes into the world of the X-Men. And now we have Sunspot filling in her shoes in this new era, which was cool too. The baton's been handed. But, we got to see what her full potential was in a really cool way. In that game sequence, she meets a future version of herself within that game that's voiced by the original actor. Really, really cool. Actress, actor, whatever you prefer. But yeah, just things like that. As I mentioned, the theme song's been updated. The intro has been updated. Every episode has a different intro. And as the storyline goes, characters are in, characters are out. They're swapped around. There's flashbacks, there's flash forwards, there's all kinds of shit in that intro. Just the intro. So you have to watch every one of them. You just do. And if you're not, you're playing yourself. you are playing yourself. Watch those fucking intros. But yeah, we get introduced to the Executioner, was a formidable villain. Sinister pops up and makes us think he's the main antagonist, and he shows up in such a great, creepy way. Like the Sinister that I love is that guy in the shadows, the fucking kukui, if you will. And that's who he is in here. Like, he is a main antagonist from the start to the end, but he's not the antagonist, right? We get a lot of little little breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs is what I was looking for. Breadcrumbs throughout the whole season. From the very beginning, you got to pay attention. In the shadows, in the cameos, in the corners, our antagonist is there, and our antagonist is Bastion. Bastion is a human Nimrod hybrid from the comics. Really, really cool moments. Really badass villain. He's voiced by Theo James, great actor. But, you know, to introduce a new villain, give him this great arc, was awesome. So yeah, I'll get back to him in a minute. So many cute Easter eggs from the comics, from Jim Lee's designs to storylines, straight out of the books, like straight images, actual images straight out of the books, all throughout. We got the Executioner. We also had, as I said, Sinister had a whole horror themed episode. We were able to get the Inferno story arc in just one episode somehow. Like, I thought that would take multiple parts, but it didn't. They were able to get it all in one, and it worked. It was really cool. Really creepy fucking episode. One of my favorite. It was awesome. Along with Love Death story arc, which is the Aurora and Forge love story where she loses her powers and he helps her get her confidence back and those powers. That was awesome. As well as the backstory on Forge. Like, Forge had some powerful moments in the original series between his affiliation with X Factor and all the affiliation with Bishop and his time travel. Like, he was a proponent, so it was no surprise to see him pop up. And Bishop's in here too for a little bit, right? In the first two episodes, we have Jean giving birth to Nathan Christopher, aka Cable, throughout this season. And then again, we find out that Jean's not Jean, it's Maddie. And then who has whose memories, when were they swapped, is another scenario. All of these cool storylines and all this cool shit going on. Nathan Christopher gets infected, has to go in the future with Bishop to become the man we know as Cable. Really dope. One of the standouts has to be Remember It, which is episode 5. And I feel like the most emotional episode throughout the whole, and there are tons. There are tons. What in the hell is this? And this episode revolves, on one side, X-Men getting interviewed for a special report on the news where fucking Scott just owns it and just basically says humans are the problem, not mutants. You guys, we're oversaving your asses. Mic drop moment. Jean kisses Wolverine in a really cool moment of frustration. But what takes the cake on that one is Genosha, where you were introduced to Genosha, mutant paradise, that really takes a turn at some point where it ends up getting attacked by a wild sentinel straight out of the new X-Men books from Grant Morrison, where Genosha is massacred. I mean, it's just massacred. We lose a lot of mutants like Sebastian Shaw, Dazzler, Jake, Castrona, and Bo. The creators of the show actually have cameos in here as well. Cable pops up from the future. Him and his mom meet. And they acknowledge each other, realize each other in a really sweet moment. We get a love triangle between Rogue, Gambit, and Magneto from the comics. And that's our new focus this season versus our usual Jean, Wolverine, and Scott. That's kind of still there, but not really. But in this, Gambit shows his full potential, is a badass, but dies in a heartbreaking fucking way. Like, it's the one episode that made me cry. And I'm not ashamed to say it. Like, it was so well put together and heavy that those tears were natural. And I dare you to watch it and not cry. I dare you. I dare you, bro. It was heavy. And in his final words are the name's Gambit. Remember it. He fucking obliterates that humongous Sentinel, which at this point had killed Magneto as well and other mutants. And, you know, he gets those last words in. And it's just powerful. It's very powerful television storytelling to the point where Rogue's holding his corpse and she's just like, Sugar, I can't feel you. And you feel that shit. It's just, it's heavy. But, you know, we get some glimpses of Xavier's life in space, his life with Alondra. We get a cameo from lots of cameos throughout the show. Vulcan, missing Summers Brothers, actually in space. So I wonder if they're going to circle back around to that storyline, because that was a pretty good one. He's fucking crazy in the comics. Cool moments like Storm going Super Saiyan, generating her old classic costume as she gets her powers back. Nightcrawler, it makes an appearance and joins the team when Gambit dies. Everybody just there's so many really cool things. Get a lot of cool transition, shape-shifting moments with Morph. Morph gives us Blob, gives us Colossus, Deathstrike, Psylocke, Spiral, the Hulk, Sabretooth, Darkchild, Quicksilver, Juggernaut, Mr. Fantastic. He cameos everybody in the moment. And what's cool is they finally dive into the fact that Morph not only looks like them, but actually has their powers when he morphs into them, which wasn't anything that we had touched on before in the previous series. Really dope. Every character had time to shine. Every character finally had some time to shine. They all had really awesome moments. Down to Beast. Beast, in the very first episode, takes over a Sentinel and rides around in it like a fucking mech. But I dig it. Towards the end, we got more cameos. We got Doom, Zemo are part of Bastion's cabal, you know, as his Operation Zero Tolerance takes full effect, and we get obliteration. We get more shit like Silver Samurai, Omega Red pops up, and then we also get Spider-Man in one shot, and in another shot we get Peter Parker and Mary Jane. Now, that was a really cool Easter egg because that original show ended with MJ stuck in a different dimension, Spider-Man looking for her. So this kind of tells us that he found her, which is really cool. That upset so many people that we've been asking for that resolution for so long, and we finally have it. All in all, it was just crazy. You know, Bastion Ghoul, it makes a phenomenal opponent. He goes full Messiah Complex Bastion, which is a kick-ass version. X-Men take him down, and then throughout this process, you know, we have Magneto trying to transition from hero. Genosha happens, and he goes right back to his way because at the end of the day, Magneto was right. He was right. And we jump into Fatal Attractions at the end of the season. We've got Messiah Complex going on one side and Fatal Attractions going on another, down to the fucking ripping of adamantium out of Wolverine's body, which was bonkers. That shit happened. Fucking bonkers. We got our classic costumes back. All the X-Men are back in their old school costumes. The blue jumpsuit, Marvel Girl costume, down to the brown and tan Wolverine costume. Like, that was a really cool throwback. We got more cameos with Black Panther, Cloak and Dagger, Daredevil, Doctor Strange. There were so many fantastic nods for the fans throughout the show. But the storylines, the pacing, they were so heavy. The drama was always there. The action was always there. From start to finish, they didn't skip a beat. Not one episode fell off. The continuation just kept going. That roller coaster just kept going. Down to our last episode. Like, our very last bit leads into season 2. We've got our X-Men are time displaced, and Apocalypse is going to be our forefront in 3 different timelines. We've got some X-Men in the past experiencing the rise of Apocalypse. We have Apocalypse in the present. He's part of the mid-credit scene at the very end, picks up Gambit's Queen card that's been burnt up and says, my children, and pretty much kind of identifies that his vengeance will be felt. But that's another Easter egg in the comics. Gambit becomes his horseman, Death. And he goes, as he's holding that card, he says, Death. So that, and then there's also another scene in the episode with Xavier where there's a skeleton face on, Gambit's a skeleton. I feel like that was another clue for next season, but he's coming back as Death. He's coming back as Death. I'd be surprised. And then in the future, we've got a really cool storyline going on with Cyclops and Phoenix from the adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix, where they meet their child, Nathan Christopher, and the clan Ascani, and their other child, Rachel, Mother Ascani. So we've got really cool breadcrumbs for season 2, which I'm really excited about. If they can lay those are great storylines, really, really cool storylines. Kiewel makes a comment at one point about Rebel fighters that always talked about the X-Men. And in our heads, we're thinking, hopefully they're referring to Red and Slim, which is what they go by in that storyline. And it is. They get to raise their kid in the future, just like the comics. Really fucking cool. Overall, a fantastic show, a fantastic watch. It can be rewatched plenty of times, and you always feel the emotions in every one of those viewings. I know I have. I watched it a couple times. Anytime a new episode dropped, I actually started from 1 and kept going and kept going and kept going. But if you don't get sucked into that, I don't know what's wrong with you. It's the best thing the MCU has put out in the past couple of years. It's one of the best animated properties. It's the best version of the X-Men that's come out to date. Go watch it. Let me know what you think about, or what you thought about season 1, what you hope to see in season 2, and where your love for the X-Men's at. And remember, appreciate you. This year marks the 30th anniversary of The Crow, which came out in 1994, if you can't do the math. It's also one of my favorite movies. It's one of my top favorite movies of all time. Because the 30th anniversary, we've got a 4K version that just dropped on Blu-ray, but it came back to theaters for 2 nights this past week, and I had an opportunity to go watch it. And of course, I ran to the theater to check it out, and oh my God, I'm so happy I did. I haven't seen it since I was 14, and to see it on the big screen again was it was magical. I've loved this movie since day one for many reasons. I didn't know the comic, honestly, when it came out. I actually just happened to go with a relative to go watch it at that time, and immediately fell in love with it. I'm a hopeless romantic. I love romance, and that's what this movie is. It's a gothic, tragic gothic romance in my eyes with some action. It's based on the graphic novel by James O'Barr, in which Eric Draven has been murdered along with his fiancée, and it is said that a crow, when carrying a soul, if you have left things unresolved, will bring you back to life. So a year later, he comes back and wreaks vengeance and avenges his fiancée and goes after his murderers. It was directed by Alex Proyas, and the movie itself was everything that it should have been. Seeing it on big screen again was really cool because, the original comic was in black and white, and the director and cinematographer did everything in their power to make it look like a living comic without looking like a comic, which is weird. So they kept all the tones very black and white-ish, right? So not too much color here or there. Visually, it was a very stunning movie. It does reek of the times of the 90s, but it's also timeless in a way, which is weird because you can watch it at any point and just feel that emotion, feel those vibes. The movie started the late, great Brandon Lee, and his final performance. Unfortunately, he passed away due to an accident during that filming process of that movie. If you weren't aware of that, then you'd be living on a rock. That's pretty well known. But again, it's such a great movie. Him coming back to avenge himself and his fiance. The fact they were able to finish the movie and still honor him and the storyline, like without discrediting or diminishing any of the part of the film, was awesome. I liked seeing it back on the big screen again because we live in the 4K era now, and it was cool to see a little bit of that grain. Cool to see a little bit of that vintage look on film. But the movie's fantastic. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, please do. It's gone through a couple of different sequels, along with a TV show, and it's going through another reboot. The reboot, I'm going to watch it just for the sake of watching it, but I'm not too stoked about it because this is, again, just magical. It was really cool to see that the theater was full. It was full. But yeah, beautiful movie. The action scenes are choreographed so well. Brandon Lee kicked major ass throughout the whole fucking thing. Which again, just even more sad because he didn't have an opportunity to grow from there, and that sucks. Check it out. It's a fantastic movie. It's on 4K now. You can download it, stream it, do all that shit. The jazz. I'm happy that I saw it in the movie theater. I'm happy for the movie, and I hope you enjoy it too. Let me know in the comments. Oh shit, in the comments. And so over the weekend, I was able to check out Fall Guy on digital streaming services. I say that with unease because the movie was so much fucking fun. I actually grew up with the TV show. I was watching it, not really understanding any of it, to be quite honest. I was at an age where I was just hyped by the explosions and the badass. I was girl crazy from day one. Gorgeous Heather Thomas, that was the leading lady on the show, as well as Marky Post. Beautiful women. But, I grew up on that and always enjoyed, I think, the fun aspect of the original TV show. Again, just going off of memory. Stars Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. It's a beautiful love story to the stunt industry. And that's what it is. It's just a fun movie that doesn't take itself too seriously and also doesn't go down too lowbrow either. The comedy is all on point. The love story between Colt Seavers and Emily Blunt's character Jodie. Yes, Jodie. It's really cute. It's very endearing. It's very innocent. I love Ryan Gosling as a comedic actor. Since The Nice Guys and Crazy Stupid Love, his comedic timing is fantastic. If you didn't see him on SNL, shame on you. You'll understand even more so after watching that. He's just fucking funny, witty, very, very hilarious. Hilarious. He really is. But yeah, it was a fun watch. Lots of really badass explosions. David Leitch was the director. He comes from that. He had the background of the stunt world, the stunt coordinator. He's the director behind Deadpool 2, right? And Bullet Train, which also get little Easter eggs in there throughout the movie. So keep your eyes open for them. If you spot them, let me know. But I caught both of them. Atomic Blonde, John Wick, he knows action, and you see it throughout this movie. It's 2.5 hours long. You don't really feel the 2.5 hours because you really just enjoy the ride. And it's a shame that this didn't last in theaters longer. It was only in theaters for 3 weeks, maybe. We're used to 8 weeks in theater before they pull it. And it's a shame. They should have more credit and more time in the theater so you can experience it. It's in the long run. It's going to do so much damage to that industry for people working in the cinemas, in the theaters. I love that experience. It's cool watching things at home, but I want to watch it in the theater first. And this has been a lot of talk with this movie. That's not the legacy you want to have last from this. Is it deserved more. It deserves more. It's a fun fucking movie. I highly recommend you watch it. For real, 5 out of 5 for me. It's just fun. Stick around through the credits. You'll get a really cool surprise at the very end. as well as through the credit process. You see the stunts behind the stunts. There's so many really cool action sequences, and the cast was phenomenal. I already mentioned Ryan and Emily, but you also get Winston Duke, who I've been a fan of since Black Panther, much like everybody else, and Aaron Taylor Johnson, one of our versions of Quicksilver, right? He's in there in a really fun role. And I don't want to get into spoilers, right? So I'm not. Just watch it, enjoy it. Let me know what you think in the comments, and remember, appreciate you. Once again, peeps, I appreciate you tuning in and checking out the podcast. It is a work in progress, so any and all feedback is always appreciated. Please like, share, follow, and subscribe. All the norms to help me spread my wings and fly. And also, swag's still available. The link's in the bio. But get yourself one of these badass shirts designed by Ma and support the show. See you next time. Appreciate you.